going down. I'm yelling timber, you better move, you better dance. Let's make a night you won't remember. I'll be the one you won't.
Hi Redken, my name is Jamie Taylor and this is my video to audition to be a Redken artist. 6 years ago when I graduated hair school, I thought I knew just about everything, and I got into the hair field and realized there was still so much more to learn. We had a Redken class in our salon and a Redken artist came in, and she was so inspiring and so well educated, and she knew so much about Redken. That was the day that I realized that I wanted to become more educated and to become a Redken artist. That was the day that I decided to make my 5-year plan. I took a lot of local classes. I went to California and took a hands-on cutting class. I went to Symposium in Las Vegas and wanted more than anything to make it to the Redken Exchange. I was able to make it there last year and take Cut and OY and Color Fix. I also took my Redken Color Certification, which was so rewarding, and passed that test, and now I'm color certified. The reason I want to be a part of Redken is when I went and took Cut and OY at the New York Redken Exchange, I learned some amazing haircuts, but not only did I learn just some haircuts like I did in California, I learned Redken's principle of haircutting, and that's what was so rewarding and amazing to me, is that I was able to take all these principles back and these amazing haircuts and use them on every single client. My goals now are to become Redken Design Certified and to become a Redken artist. The reason I want to become a Redken artist is because they are so humble, so inspiring, and so well educated. More than anything, I'd like to share that with lots of other stylists in Utah. Okay, I'm going to show you guys a cutting technique. First off, we need to do a horizontal breakdown on our mannequin. This is a 6-section parting. You have the top, the crown, the back, the nape, and the sides. To find the difference between your nape and your back, you're going to use 2 cutting combs. You're going to place one right at the nape of the neck and then one right on the flat of the head. Right where they meet is the difference between the back and the nape. So right here, I'm going to divide that and do 2 different partings. To find your sides, it's typically right up behind the ear and at the peak of the eyebrow. So that's your side, and your side over here. And then to find the crown and the top, also just take that and follow the line up. You can see right there. And that's a horizontal breakdown. I'm going to do a disconnected haircut. So on her sides, her back, and her nape, I'm going to use a number 4 clipper guard and take all that hair off. You can go a little bit shorter or longer, just depending on what you're looking for. I wanted to leave a little bit of depth, so that's why I'm leaving a little bit of length on those sides. Once I get all this hair off, I'm going to go around with my T-edgers and just clean up her edges to make a nice neckline. Just going to clean it up over her ear so her ear is exposed to make it more dramatic. Have her look down so I can clean up her neckline nice. Same thing on this side, just expose her ear. Okay, once you've cleaned up her neckline and her ears, the sides, the back, and the nape are done, so we're going to go ahead and move to the top sections. Here's the result of our number 4 clipper guard on the sides, the back, and the nape. Okay, to cut the top, I'm going to use a 90-degree horizontal cutting method. I'm going to take horizontal partings and use the guideline from the previous section and have a traveling guideline. Because this is such a large piece, I'm going to separate out some of these sides so I have more control when I'm cutting. So let me just do that. I'm just going to use a clip to make sure it stays out of the way. So you can see I separated out just some of those sides, so I have a little bit more control. I'm going to take about 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to hold that straight up 90 degrees horizontally. And I want it to be about 4 inches long. Hold it straight out from her head. Then I'm going to divide this section in half so I can use it as my guideline, my traveling guideline. I'm going to take a little bit more of the next section. And you want to take a thin enough section that you can still see your guideline through it. Okay, so right there you can see my guideline. So I'm going to continue to cut 90 degrees straight from the head. I'm just going to continue through this whole section and do the exact same thing, moving straight out from her head so the guideline is always moving. You just want to make sure you always take small enough sections that you can still see that guideline. Okay, now that I have that top section cut, I am going to take her left side and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hold it 90 degrees from the head. So there's going to be a little curve right there. About the same size partings. You don't want too much hair so you have control. And since there's a curve right there, I'm going to hold it straight 90 degrees right there. Use the same guide from the top section and cut that off. Same thing, I'm going to take a little bit from the previous section into my next section for my guideline. I'm always going to stand in the same position, that way I get the exact same cutting position. So I kind of move to find my parting and then I always move back right behind her head. Okay, now that that side's cut, we're going to do this side over here. Same thing, I'm going to want to stand, make sure I'm standing right behind her head. My clip. Use the same guideline from the top. Stand behind. 90 degrees straight out from the head. Cut that. Take a guide from the front. Okay, now that I have the sides and the top done, I need to do the crown. Okay, to get a guideline from the top to the crown, I'm just going to take a little bit of a piece of the top and a little bit of the crown. And cut just a little guideline. Okay, once again, I always want to be standing in the same position. I'm going to step a little bit to the side. Normally you'd want to be right behind it, but just so you guys can see. $90 straight out from the head. Use my same traveling guideline. Take a little bit from the section before, a little bit of a new section. Straight out 90 degrees. And when I kind of get more to the side, I actually am going to want to move more to the side. Travel around with the head. And your guideline should be the exact same when you get over to these side sections. So now I have a guideline from both sides, making sure they're nice and even. And we're going to come over and we're going to do this side. Just make sure it all meets the same in the back. Okay, and that is her base length. We're going to go through and add some layering techniques now. Okay, now I'm going to go through and do some layering techniques and a texturizing technique. First, I'm going to choose to do the swelling technique, and I'm choosing that because I want to add volume to the top of her hair. I am going to part her hair on the sides, so I want to go ahead and put that part in now and do the techniques with the side part. First, I'm going to put in my guideline. I'm going to do it in her fringe area. I'm going to take a triangle from both sides of the sections. I don't want the layering to be super short, so I'm going to just take it off about an inch. Okay, and that's my guideline. So I'm going to start on this side, take a small section. Make sure to get some of my guideline in there. With the swelling technique, you stand on the opposite side of the parting. So here's her parting. You're going to elevate it 90 degrees. I'm going to move over to this side, and then you wrap it across her head. Cut to your guideline. Come back over, take another section, and I'm going to put some of the first section in there so I still have my guideline. Elevate 90 degrees, wrap over. Make sure I'm standing in the same position I was before, and cut. I'm going to continue that through this whole section. Straight up from her head, 90 degrees, wrap over, stand in the same position, and cut. And I'll continue that through this whole section, and then we'll move to the next side. It's not cutting off a ton, but it will add just the right amount of volume that I want for this haircut. This is one of my favorite techniques that I use in the salon. It doesn't take off a ton of length, but adds volume to the hair. Okay, now that I've done that side, I'm going to come over on this side, make sure my guideline's in there. I'm going to stand on this side now. 90 degrees, over, cut. Next piece, make sure my guideline before is in there. Straight up, 90 degrees, over, and cut. Continue that through this side. 90 degrees, over, cut. Just move around the movement of her head. can see that's taking more off the back. I always want to be standing opposite, so I'm going to kind of move around as I get to the back of the head. Still laying and wrapping right across the top of her head. As I get to more of this side, we'll move more over here. Okay, and that is the swelling technique. Add some layers in there. Now, you can see on her sides that there's a little bit of bulk and heaviness. I want to kind of eliminate that a little bit. So I'm going to use my texturizing shear. I'm going to put this blade towards the bottom so that the hair lays under nicely. Start at the bottom of her hair. Put some in my comb. I'm just going to kind of talk that up there. And that's going to eliminate a lot of bulk in her hair. You see how much nicer that lays? I'm going to do that through all of her hair. Just talk that up there. And create a lot of softness through her haircut. Back here, I want to eliminate the bulk. So I'm going to do the same thing, put the hair in the comb, and blade down and talk up with the shears. That just creates a lot of softness through her hair. Also gives it a little bit more texture. Same thing on this side. You can just see how heavy that is. I do want to leave a little bit of heaviness in her bang, though. So I'm not going to do this in the bang. I want to leave that heaviness right through there. Okay, so this is my disconnected haircut. You can see the disconnect. When we style it, there's a lot of different ways you can style her hair, so we'll show that to you when we get to that point. Now we're going to do a color technique. Okay, for this color technique, I want to see more brightness in her fringe area around her face. So I'm going to do a technique that I'm going to part off a top section. Start there. So there's the top section. Pin it up so I can show you guys. That's the technique, or the section I'm going to do my technique in. Everything else on the sides, I'm going to apply Chromatics 3VB and 20 volume oil and cream developer on the sides and the back. And then I will tell you my formulas for the top when I get there. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that on my sides and back. Now that I've applied the Chromatics 3VB and 20 volume oil and cream developer on her sides and back from root to end, taking 1/8 inch sections. And the reason I'm taking 1/8 inch sections is because this color doesn't have as much spreadability as some of the other color lines in Redken. So you want to make sure to take smaller sections so it gets saturated. Now that that's done, I'm going to start with the top section and show you guys a technique. Normally I would stand in the front for this, but I'm going to stand in the back so you guys can see a little bit more what I'm doing. I'm going to take a small 1/8 inch section, pin this out of the way back here. Like I said earlier, she wants more lightness around her face. So my formula number 1 is going to be 3VB 20 volume oil and cream developer. Formula number 2 is Chromatics 5VV with 30 volume oil and cream developer equal parts. The formula 1 is going to be her root color, the 3VB, and the 5VV is her end color. So to create more lightness around the face and more depth in the back, I'm going to take a foil. I'm going to use a foiling board so I have more control. Like I said, normally I would stand in the front, but so you guys can see on this first piece, I'm going to apply 5VV root to end. So we get that nice brightness around her face. Okay, that piece is done. I'm going to take another 1/4 inch section. As I go back, you will notice that I will have more root because I'm going to pull this forward every time to the same foil. Everything is going to lay on this one foil. So now you can see that there's a little bit more of a root showing. I am going to apply the 3VB on her root, 5VV on the ends. Now that I have that first foil in place, I won't need my foiling board. 3VV on that root. Let me put it down a little bit so you guys can see. 5VV on those ends. This will create, as I go back, it will create more depth on the root and less lightness on the ends, so that lightness really focuses just on the front. Making sure to take small sections so I make sure that product gets saturated. You'll see that that root is increasing with the 3VB. VV on those ends. This is a really fun color technique and it's really fast. So if your client just wants a little bit of a difference, you can even do one shade of difference. Or you can do really drastic. It can go whatever way you want, but it's a really fun and quick technique. So you can give your client a little bit of a different color technique in a quick time. You could do this anywhere throughout the head. You don't necessarily have to do it in the front. Okay, I'm going to go through and just complete this section doing the exact same thing. When I get more towards the back, you'll notice that there will be hardly any of that 5VV and most of it will be the root. That is the desired end result, so just know that that will happen. Taking that 3VB all the way down to her hairline, you can see right there where her hairline starts, where that foil starts. Notice that now it's almost completely the 3VB. Just on those very tips, you'll see that brightness of that 5VB. Okay, Now I'm just going to finish out with the 3VB on these pieces. Since her hair is now short and will not reach the foil. Now that I'm on my last section, I'm going to finish this up, and then Erica, when I come back to you, you're going to be looking fine. Okay, as you can see, she's now dried. I washed her color out with Redken Hair Cleansing Cream, and then again with Color Extend Shampoo, and then conditioner with Color Extend Conditioner. And then I blow dried her with Pillow Proof Primer, 3 drops of diamond oil, a pump of satin wear, and then just blow dried her with a paddle brush in wrapping it around her head so you get nice softness. You can see through her hair, you can see how much body she has up there through that swelling layering technique. I just want to show you the color technique. You can see through her fringe that 5VV really shows through there. Then you have all the depth of the 3VB through the sides and the back. It's a really subtle technique, but it lightens it up around the face and brings brightness to her face. I'm just going to go through with a little bit of Shape Factor 22 to kind of piece out her hair a little bit. You want to make sure to rub it really good in your hands and apply it just to give it a little bit of hold and piece it out just a little bit more. I'm going to finish it with my favorite Control Addict 28. Okay, and then you can see the disconnect on this side. On this side I chose to have it lay over, but you can push all that up. So you can style this in all different ways. And there she is. There's Erica for you. Just a fun cutting and color technique. I would like to thank you guys for your time and for considering me to be a part of the Redken team.
It's going down. I'm yelling timber. You better move. You better dance. Let's make a night you won't remember. I'll be the one you won't forget.